This Niner RKT9 is a cross-country race weapon. It's my favorite cross-country bike that I've ever ridden. The Transition Spur is my favorite trail bike that I've ever ridden. It's also the most versatile bike I've ever ridden. It would be classified as a downcountry bike, but it can be as fast as a cross-country bike. So I'm embarking on a new project to see if I can replace my cross-country race bike with a Transition Spur. Now, why would I try to replace a cross-country bike, my favorite cross-country bike to date, the fastest cross-country bike I've ever ridden, with this to be my cross-country race bike? Why would I do that? No, but seriously, the answer is versatility. If I can have one bike to be my fast trail bike and cross-country bike, and then have a second bike to be my long travel trail bike or enduro bike, that would be great. I could narrow my fleet down to 2 mountain bikes instead of 3. So I'm gonna see if I can do that. And so that's what this project's all about. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to basically take the wheels off of this bike, put them on this bike, and I'm gonna do a bunch of time trials. Now, I've spent the last 2 months doing a time trial course on my local trails that takes about 37 to 38 minutes to complete. And my times have been really similar. So they've all been 37 something, maybe closer to 38 on some and more like 37, 20 or around there. And I've done that for a while. And so what I've been able to do is really get this bike not only dialed, but just the feel of it, right? Like staying on the same bike and just getting more and more comfortable with just being on one bike. So I'm gonna do the same thing now with the Transition Spur. I'm gonna take these wheels. So this bike weighs 28.5 pounds as it sits right now, but I think a lot of that weight is in the wheels and tires. I'm gonna see, in fact, on this video, I'm gonna go ahead and take the wheels off of this, and it works out perfectly because I've actually got to send this shock back to Fox to get rebuilt. It's got a little bit of leak, and I rebuilt it myself, and it's still leaking a little bit of air very slowly. But it's time for just a full rebuild of the shock. So I've got to do that now. So this bike's going to be out of commission for a week or two, but I'm literally going to spend a month doing time trials on this bike. That's my plan. So if it doesn't work out and this bike ends up not being as fast as my cross-country bike, then I go to plan B. And plan B would be to keep this bike and then eventually replace it with the new Niner RKT9, which I can't get right now because of supply issues. The thing that I like about the Spur is I like the geometry of it. Now I like the geometry here too, but this geometry is getting a little dated. So what I found is when I switch from my enduro bike or my specialized stump jumper, which is pretty slack and low, it takes a little while to get back used to the cross-country bike because this has a 70-degree head angle. This bike has a 66-degree head angle. They both have a 120 on the front, so 120 fork. It's both a Fox fork. Now the step cast is lighter on this bike, but I like the geometry. I like how just flowy and smooth this bike feels. This bike feels like a scalpel. It's just how you just slice the trail and how quickly you corner on this bike. But again, versatility. This bike, I've been on so many trails after I sold my last Transition Spur where I was like, man, I wish I had the Transition Spur on this trail. Even when the day I sold my other Transition Spur, I was at Blankets Creek in Atlanta. I dropped the bike off to the guy. He paid me in the parking lot. And then I went out on my specialized stump jumper. And on that trail, I was like, man, I missed the Transition Spur because it's so fast and so fun. And so if I can make this my one, bike, it's a downcountry bike, but if I can make it a cross-country bike and a fast trail bike, all the better. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but that's what this project is all about. Before we do the wheel swap, I'm gonna weigh it one last time. So we're right at 28.57. This is the moment of truth. Can I drop a pretty decent amount of rotational weight on this bike by swapping the wheels? Let's do it. So we've got the race wheels on the Transition Spur. How much weight did we drop off the Spur? So we went from 28.55 or 57 to 26. We dropped over 2.5 pounds. The Niner RKT9 weighs a little more than 24.5. So, oh, wait, oh, 25.99 just dropped. so the RKT9 is 24.5. So this is 1.5 pounds heavier. Most of that weight is going to be in the dropper post. So the RKT9 has a carbon seat post, not a dropper post, and then the fork. So this is not a step cast. This is a regular Fox Float 34. The rest is going to be in the components. Not much. So SRAM GX versus XO, which is on the other bike. I do have a GX rear derailleur on that other bike because I bent the XO and just replaced it with the GX and the handlebar. So this is an alloy bar versus a pretty light carbon bar, flat bar. So I could change out the bar and drop a little bit of weight, but the rotational weight is what really matters. Total side note here, a byproduct of taking these wheels off is I'm going to test these wheels, particularly the tires, on this Specialized stump jumper, and I'll talk about that in another little project. But the tires on this have a ton of grip, but they're pretty sticky, as in they just grip the trail almost too much, and they have a lot of rolling resistance. So I want to see how this Specialized stump jumper feels with the tires and the wheels that just came off the Transition Spur. All right, so I'm going to wrap up this video by saying that I found that there are 3 main things that make a cross-country bike fast. Number 1 is the weight, so we drop the weight. Number 2 is going to be the handling. Cross-country bikes are made to handle tight corners and accelerate really fast, so it's the geometry. So I think as far as weight, we're going to be okay with the Spur. The handling is really the question for me. And the third one is the pedaling platform. So how is the suspension when you really crank on the pedals and get going? Is it going to accelerate fast? The Spur has a great pedaling platform. I'll just say that right off. So weight, we're okay. Pedaling platform is fine. The question now is handling. Does the slacker geometry allow me to have more confidence in the corners? So can I hit them faster? Can I hit downhill sections faster on the Spur and be faster overall? Or is the 1.5 pound weight difference going to be a big deal? Because all of the time trials that I'm going to do are on hilly courses, not mountainous, but hilly, constantly up and down. Each lap has about 500 or 600 feet of elevation gain, so it's not huge, but the hills do play a part in it. That's the question. So I was going to kind of get into the time trials in this video, but it's already gotten longer than I planned. So that's going to be a separate video. So the next phase of this project is to actually get out and do the time trials. So I'll get out and show you the course, and I'm going to do a few time trials, see how it is, and I'm going to just keep doing them for a month or a month and a half because I've got some really good data with the Niner RKT9. I'm going to see how it compares to the Transition Spur. So this should be a lot of fun. That's going to wrap up this video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so you can be notified of those videos that I upload. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up for me. Thanks for watching.